So this is now official. Nigeria has overtaken South Korea in terms of stock market trade. Now, this means that it is far much more profitable for an investor to invest in the Nigerian Stock Exchange currently than for that same investor to invest in the South Korea Stock Exchange. And this is obviously insane. In fact, this is ridiculous. It's insane because when you talk about South Korea, you talk about Samsung, but not just Samsung, we have other corporations. South Korea has industries that manufacture chips and design a lot of electronics. In fact, South Korea is a powerhouse in the tech and manufacturing sector, with Samsung dominating everything. So this is almost a contradiction because when you look at Nigerian Stock Exchange, of course, you have the big players like Dangote Refinery, then you have NNPC and the rest, and also MTN, which is the telecommunication sector, but these are not big compared to even Samsung. So how is it more profitable to invest in Nigeria with a lot of industries either struggling or has closed? In fact, you can be sure that there's no new addition to Nigeria currently in terms of industry, in terms of new industries, because there's no electricity and the political climate does not support it. So we have Nigeria where industries are closing down rather than opening, and where businesses are struggling currently. Many businesses are struggling. Many people are, in fact, Nigeria is now the poverty capital of the world. So you have this country with this income inequality, and the index is telling you that it's far more profitable to invest in this country, Nigeria, than it is to invest in a much more stable South Korea. So that begs the question, why is this the case? Why is it that all of a sudden Nigerian stock market is now more profitable, far more profitable than South Korea stock market? Well, the reason for this is twofold. For one, being the World Bank structural adjustment programs and austerity measures implemented by the Tinubu administration. For one, Tinubu, when he came to power, he removed subsidy and he took a lot of loans. Now, this did one thing. For one, that it crashed the local currency. Naira moved from like 800, 900 to 1,500 when Tinubu came to power. And when a particular currency is dropping, what happens is that the people, that is the business owners, the elite in the society, would want to protect their income because you have your money sitting in the bank and your money is losing value every single day. So what they do is that they'll go buy real estate. So usually they go invest in real estate or they buy stocks. So I have 800 million naira in my account and naira is losing value. I just go and buy Dangote stock or buy MTN stocks. So we buy these stocks as a way to keep their currency. Of course, they can buy cryptocurrency, but when you look at the volume of amount involved, it's not so easy to secure cryptocurrency for that amount. So the rich will want to protect their wealth. So this means that a lot of money went into the real estate sector and even the stock market. So capital left private accounts and went to the stock market. So this also boosted it in a bit. Now, second thing that boosted this Nigerian stock market is interest rates. So the Tinubu administration met interest rate at around 18%. So they increased it to 27%, which means that banks have to be forced to increase theirs to like 35 up to 40%. Now, this interest rate is basically the amount you are going to, if you want to take a loan from the bank, it is the interest that you're going to pay bank when you take the loan. That is the interest rate. Or when you want to buy government bonds, the interest you're supposed to make. So, for example, now if government says the interest rate is now 18%, it means that if you give government 100 million, at the end of the year, you should receive 18 million from the government as interest for the money given to the government. Or when you take a loan from the bank and the interest is like 30%, it means that if you're paying the money back, you're going to pay extra 30% to service that debt. So this interest rate, the reason the government increased it is because imagine that interest was 18%. Now you are telling investors that, oh, bring your money to us so that we can use it to run the economy. Then at the end of the year, we're going to give you 40%. Like they are increasing it from 18% to almost 30%. So this was done to attract investors. So a lot of people in America right now, interest rate is more like 4% or 5%, which is quite low. But people are still investing in America because America is much more stable. at least you are guaranteed 4% every single year. Whereas in developing nations, it's not so stable. Sometimes the country may not meet up that your interest. You may need to like wait it out, wait for World Bank to intervene in the country before you can get your money. So it's not so easy to convert that money. That's why even though developing nations have higher interest rates, usually they will have higher interest rates. People are not still investing or buying their bonds because it is not clear how you are going to take that money out of that country. But now, so these developing nations, they have to be forced to increase interest rate if they want foreign currency into the country. But this means that a lot of businesses can no longer take loans. So you see a lot of capital. That is what they call capital flight, where capitals are coming to the country. So this is why Nigerian stock market now is not much more profitable because of high interest rates and this capital flight, and also the fact that took people have to buy real estate and stocks. So a lot of money is going to Nigerian exchange rate, no, stock exchange. A lot of money is going to Nigerian stock exchange currently right now. That is why Nigerian stock exchange is now much more profitable than South Korea. Now, is this good or bad? Well, for one, it is bad. And the good side, I don't see any good side of it, because though people are making it look like it's a good thing, it's not, especially for developing nation. So if you're a developing nation, if uh if you're already a developed nation and your stock exchange overtakes that of South Korea, it means you're doing quite well because you have the industries on the ground to show for it. But there's no new industries coming to Nigeria. There's no new factory coming to Nigeria. There's no new thing. In fact, people are more destitute now than before. So why should this be a good thing? So why should Nigeria stock exchange be being vibrant while the people on the street are starving to death? So the reason why, so this is why it is not good. That is why it's not good. But what are the consequences of this? Well, the consequence of this is that, let's say America increase interest rate. America does it all the time. You can decide to increase interest rate from 5% to 7% or even 9%. If this happens, the investors in Nigeria will want to take their money out so they can go and invest in America. Or let's say a political situation happens in Nigeria that they feel that it is not safe. That money they brought into Nigeria, they will take it out. And when they're taking it out, the local currency will almost collapse. So this is why it's called hot money, because as the money is coming to the country, it does not go to start building any factory or any project that can contribute economically to that country. So instead, the money is now just go for speculation, just to increase Federal Reserve. So if they take it out, that means the country is going to suffer severe inflation. So should anything happen that these people that brought this money in takes it out, we are going to really suffer for it in terms of currency devaluation. And not just currency devaluation, you also have to observe that once that capital leaves, your foreign reserve depletes as well, which means that our government would not have enough foreign currency to wage against this devaluation. Now, has this ever happened in history? For years, Mexico, the government came in, increased interest rates, and also put some IMF, World Bank social adjustment program. What happened? They increased interest rates to, I think, about 50% or 40% or thereabout. So a lot of people brought in money. But after like 3 years afterwards, in America, they increased their own interest rates. This is when capital now left the country. So the money that was coming to Mexico now started going out. And what happened? Mexico started going, the currency, the peso, Mexican peso started falling. Now, obviously, the government wants more money to at least wage against it. So they have to increase interest rate to up to 70%, which means that bring us your billions of dollars. We're going to give you 70% at the end of the year. But even with this, it could not save it, because as more and more people are bringing in, the more America was increasing interest rates, money was not flowing. And so Mexico was almost in a state of collapse. And as you know, what happened is that the World Bank and IMF and America came in. So the World Bank suggested they needed $57 billion to help with the whole state failure. So America brought 20 billion, but the condition being that the 20 billion, the oil that Mexico get, Mexico, once they sell the oil, it will be transferred for Federal Reserve Bank in New York until it completes 20 billion. So which means that America would be in charge of oil revenue from Mexico for that 20 billion. Then the 20 billion from IMF, they have to force them to implement some structural adjustment program to be eligible for that 20 billion from IMF. So Mexico now became poorer and became more chained compared to before, just by that policy alone. And at the end of the year, America made billions in profits from interest from that loan alone, because Mexico has already repaid the loan now. Mexico has repaid the loan, has also repaid IMF, but at the expense of severally depleting the country reserves. And not just Mexico, more other developing countries, this has experienced this. If you do your research, you're going to find this out. So this is not a new thing that Tinubu is doing, whereby you come in, you increase interest rates, you put some social adjustment programs, your currency falls in to attract investors, and your stock exchange start booming. This is a typical economic assassination attempt. Most puppet leaders who come to power to destroy any country, this is what they do. This is what Javier Milei did in Argentina, that made the America to give Argentina 20 billion or 50 billion to bail Argentina out. This is what Javier Milei did, although not about interest rate, but the playbook is the same. You come in, you put some austerity measures, social adjustment programs, and policies that are favorable to the World Bank. So on paper, you are doing well economically, everything checks out, your foreign reserve is increasing. Because that's when Javier Milei came in Germany, people were like praising him, saying that, oh, he's so good. Argentina economy was booming away when Javier Milei came to Argentina. But after some months, or after a year or so, Argentina started feeling the heat. So we hope Nigeria case is not going to be the same, because that's the same thing in Nigeria. Nigeria right now is being praised by Bloomberg. Nigeria is World Bank. They are praising Nigeria for macroeconomic policies. Now it looks as if though the Tinubu administration is working. I just hope we're not going to go into the next phase where after the praise, because when they were praising Argentina, nobody cared to ask how was the Argentine citizens, how were they faring? Are they starving or not? Nobody cared to ask. What people want to see is, oh, this is the foreign reserve, interest rate, this and that. The economy is booming. So your president may be running your country to the interest of IMF and World Bank, but that does not mean that interest aligns with you. That interest may be at your detriment. So the fact that your president is being praised on national newspapers by for Western magazines, and he's like Tinubu is being praised, that doesn't mean Nigerians are living well. That's why when you read the reports of Tinubu administration online, it looks as if something is happening. But when you go out to the streets, people are almost starving to death. So we just hope we are not going to a new phase of this structural adjustment program and interest rate increase. We just hope that we're not going to end up like Mexico and other Asian countries, Latin America, that have done this to the economy. Because if that happens, that means although Nigeria is not going to collapse, yeah, the state will not collapse. World Bank and IMF will step in and say, oh, the country is going through this, take this loan. They are going to give us like $50 billion. And when we take the loan, they are going to probably Chevron, the remaining oil that we are getting from Chevron, we're not going to get it again. So it's going to lead to a collapse. So temporarily though, we're going to recover after like 10 years. But at the same time, Western banks will make billions from interest rates on the whole policy. So this is, I don't know why Nigerians are celebrating this. I don't know a reason to celebrate it. I think governance should not be about paper. It should be reflecting on the welfare of the people. So this is it for today, and thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. Bye.